Now, without further delay, I'll pass it over to Coral to begin.
Great. Thank you, Fiona. We can go ahead and move to the next slide. So hi, everyone. Welcome to the May General Stakeholder Event for the Integrated Energy Data Resource, or IEDR, as you'll hear it referred to quite often, program. So we're very excited to have you all here. Welcome, good morning. My name is Coral. I work for Deloitte, and I'm as part of the program manager team, which Deloitte holds that role for the program. My colleagues are on the line, and they'll give quick intros when they begin speaking. You'll hear from a variety of us across the meeting today. I'm going to give us a quick overview of our agenda. So in this first 5 minutes here, we'll be having people join, covering the agenda, giving a little bit of a welcome, as you heard, and then we'll move into status of the first phase of the program, which we wrapped up in Q1 of this year. So you'll hear about our accomplishments, what's currently deployed in the platform, and then we'll move on to our minimum viable product of the platform, which is the current version. We'll give an overview of the tools and functionality that are currently available. And then you'll see a demo of the platform and also a demo of our ideas portal, which is our feedback mechanism. So we'd love to hear from all of you on features and things that we could do to improve the IEDR. And then after 29 minutes or so, we'll go ahead and move into our phase 2 status, which is the current status of our program and what we're doing and looking ahead to. And then we'll have about a 10-minute Q&A segment where we'll answer questions from the audience and any pre-submitted questions as well. And then finally, we'll wrap up with next steps and closing. We're going to make sure to highlight additional avenues where you can submit feedback and questions following this meeting, because the IEDR is here for all of you. So we really want to hear from you. Please engage. We'll have some polling questions throughout our session. I think we'll give about 60 seconds to answer them. So make sure to participate because we really love to hear from you. All right, I will go ahead. Next slide, please, Fiona, and pass it off to, first questions, forgot about that. So Fiona's gonna launch our poll here in a second. Please answer all of them. We'll be collecting your feedback and not displaying results. But our first question here is, have you visited the IEDR platform? Which tools have you explored so far? Could be one, none, all three. And then what is your initial impression of our IEDR tools? So I'll go ahead and give us about 60 seconds or so. And I will call out as we're answering, if we run out of time to get to your question, we'll make sure to follow up afterwards. And we'll be collecting them to review. Okay, about 20 more seconds. If you haven't already answered, please do so. All right, I think we can go ahead and close the poll and pass it off to Kyle.
Thanks, Coral, and thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time to join us this morning. My name is Kyle Monsees. I'm a senior project manager at NYSERDA, NYSERDA acting as the program sponsor for the IEDR. Wanted to start with a quick recap of the first phase of the IEDR. Our high-level objective in phase 1, designated by the Commission's IEDR order, was to deploy at least 5 high-priority use cases with a maximum of 10 or more anticipated within 24 to 30 months of the initiation of phase 1. Excuse me. We will be referring to use cases frequently throughout this presentation. For those that are not familiar, a use case is simply an action that produces value that an end user can take on the IEDR platform. So In phase one, we thankfully had many successes. Number one, we established a core program team, including our program manager, already heard from Deloitte today, our utility data advisor, serving as a subject matter expert on sourcing utility data to the IEDR. And finally, our development team responsible for designing, building, and operating the IEDR platform. We established 3 key stakeholder groups: the steering committee, which is the IEDR's governance body; the utility coordination group, designed to support coordination between the state's utilities and the IEDR team on a range of topics, such as aligning on data specifications and transfer timelines. And finally, our advisory group, which is a diverse group of subject matter experts who provide feedback on IEDR use case prioritization and design on a regular basis. We conducted all program activities in phase one within the Public Service Commission's budget, and successfully secured funding for phase two of the IEDR to support continued development over the next several years. Through our team's collaboration, we launched the initial public version of the IEDR platform on March 31st of 2023, which included 3 high priority use cases. And we had our second major release on March 29th of this year, our minimum viable product, or MVP, which launched an additional 5 use cases for a total of 8 use cases deployed in phase one. If we move to the next slide, please. So we'll be spending a very substantial chunk of the presentation this morning moving through a demo, but wanted to give a high-level overview of what those use cases that were deployed in phase one are. So we have 3 major modules currently active on the IEDR platform. The first is the Electric Infrastructure Assessment Tool, or EIAT. This consolidates several different data sources, from hosted capacity maps to planned and installed distributed energy resources, as well as many layers of non-utility data into one resource. It's really a detailed energy overview designed to support citing new distributed energy resources, from solar to storage to EV charging stations. Really with the value designed to speed up the process for site identification, and ultimately, hopefully, permitting and viewing what planned projects are across the state in one comprehensive view. We've also deployed the rate plan browser, which is a central repository for structured, machine-readable, and searchable rate plan data from across participating utilities in New York State, provided in a standardized format to help support the use of analytical tools for rate plan modeling. And finally, we have deployed a green button platform in sandbox mode. This tool currently allows users to digitally access mock customer utility data in the sandbox environment to explore the functionality and value of this use case without needing to go through the full IEDR Green Button Connect registration process. So this will hopefully allow stakeholders to explore the functionality, submit comments and suggestions on the future functionality that they would like to see. In anticipation of our full rollout of this feature, anticipated later in 2024, that full rollout would allow utility customers to consent to sharing their actual customer data with approved third-party energy companies. So after this call, we strongly encourage all of you to visit the IEDR, explore these tools on your own independently if you haven't had the opportunity to already. But otherwise, I'll pass to Shireen, who will help walk us through a demo of the platform. So Shireen, I'll pass to you.
Thank you, Kyle. Hi, everyone. My name is Shireen Williams. I'm part of the Deloitte team, serving as the program manager for IEDR. Fiona, I think I'm going to take control. You can stop sharing. Okay. Okay, I'm sure Fiona, let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, that worked well. The wonders of the internet. Okay, so like Kyle said, I'm going to walk us through the 3 tools for IEDR. We'll do a quick poll, and then I will also walk you through our ideas portal after that. So to orient you, I have the IEDR homepage here. You can see that across the top screen, we have the 3 tools Kyle mentioned. Our EIAT rate plans, our green button platform. We also have About and Connect with Us. I'll go through that Connect with Us later. I'm going to start with EIAT, our Electrical Infrastructure Assessment Tool. It can be accessed in 2 manners, through this top button here, or scrolling down and clicking the Read More button. So I'm going to click Read More here. What will pop up is a page that shows information about the utility data sets and descriptions of any data limitations. Scrolling all the way down, you will have access to a user guide and as well as the ability to launch the tool. So I'm going to go ahead and launch the tool for today's purposes. I will note that I have preloaded some of the pages just so that there's no lag and I can get through everything as quickly as possible because there's so much to get through. So as was previously mentioned, our EIAT is meant to allow users to explore both detailed energy data sets as well as environmental, community, and property data, all with the goal of helping users find feasible sites for solar, battery storage, and EV charging station development. So again, just doing a little bit of orientation to what you're seeing on the screen here. On the left-hand side, you'll see the control menu. Right here, you'll see the data control panel. The middle of the screen that takes up the most, obviously, is an interactive map. And at the bottom right here, if I click, there is a data table. So starting with the map, you'll notice that it contains a lot of features you can commonly found in map browser tools that you're familiar with. So for example, there is an address search bar. There is also the ability to use satellite and street views. Okay, so there are 2 main views that we have here from the menu pane. We have the layers view. This is what it opened to, but they also have the monitor view. I'm just going to spend a quick second on the monitor view. Before I go on to the layer view. So for the monitor view, you can see aggregated information for distributed energy resources. I will say DER for the rest of the time that we're together, and hosting capacity. And you can look at that information based on various localities and territories, as you can see listed here. Okay, let's spend the rest of our time on layers page. Okay, so what you can do within layers is you'll see 3 groupings: grid and assets, and environmental, land and properties, and regional boundaries. Within grid and assets, I'm going to go ahead and I am going to click DERs and PV hosting capacity. Already you can see that the map has populated with this information, and I am actually going to zoom into one location so we can see it just a little bit better. Okay, so we have lines that represent the PV hosting capacity. The color coding for the lines is defined by the Joint Utilities of New York, and the Electrical Infrastructure Assessment Tool is using the same definition. The circles represent total DERs. If you click on a circle, you're able to see the total DERs, and you can break that down by installed DERs and planned DERs. Additionally, you can click the Learn More button to see where those DERs are connected, so the connected feeder, as well as the connected substation. It's also possible for us at this point to download this information into a spreadsheet form. At this point, I can also layer on information from the environmental, land, and property data sets alongside the grid data sets. And so for that, I'm just going ahead and going to click parcels. So we can see that added parcel information. This is public parcel information from the state of New York. And so again, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit more in the same area that we were for ease of use here so we can look. And so at this point, now that I've added in environmental land and data properties and grid assets, I can also begin to play with our filters feature. And so within our filters feature, I can filter for the active layers that I have on. So DER, PV hocus and capacity and parcels. So you can see within hosting capacity, I can filter for a specific targeted hosting capacity. And for parcels in particular, I can filter for, say, for example, disadvantaged communities. So I'm only looking at the disadvantaged communities now. And I can also sort of exclude for protected areas and climate zone areas and several other items. The last thing I want to do here is look at display. I'm also able to move layers on top of each other, so I can put the one that is most important for me to view at the moment at the top of my screen. So the last thing I want to call out for us on our EIA tool is our measurement function. And so our measurement function allows us to determine the distance between points of interest, say, for example, between this feeder and this parcel. And you can see the information is given here. So you can see through the features I've just demonstrated here how the EIAT can be used to highlight, for example, large parcels within a disadvantaged community that are reasonable distance from a three-phase circuit that can support a community solar development project. I'm going now to move on to our next tool, which is rate plans. So I've headed back to the home page. And again, you can get to this tool through this top menu up here, but I'm actually going to go ahead and scroll down and click Read More. Here you'll find information about the rate plans included, as well as ability to read the user guide and launch the tool. And I'm going to launch the tool from here. As Kyle mentioned, our rate plan browser streams access to rate plan data for electric, gas, and steam within the state of New York. Our tool accelerates the job of using rate plan data to evaluate energy cost and carbon savings of a specific project, as well as making rate plan comparisons across utilities. As Kyle mentioned, this is our minimal viable product, so I think it's important to note that the rate plan data initially included in our tool includes those that are slowly changing and not more dynamic data like metered charges. Okay, so orienting you to what you guys see on the screen here. Again, once on the left, we have the menu for the tool. Here, right next to it, we have the filter plane, which contains criteria that can guide your search for specific rate plans. And then the biggest part of the screen here is where you can see the rate plan filter result. So there are several ways that you can filter through the rate plans. You can use the search bar here to type in a keyword. You can also select by a specific zip code if you know the zip code of the customer that you're working with. You can also search by the specific utility for the utility of the customer that you're working with. You can put in service type, as I mentioned before, electric, gas, and steam. You can put in customer class. And as you can see, I typed in TOU in the keyword search, but I could have also selected it here. And then you can look at various eligibility criteria as well as rate plan features. Lastly, you can search by an effective date. And then if you get very ambitious with all of your filters, you can clear, of course, just reset the filters plane to all of the data that we have available. So we have lots of information available in our rate plan tool. You can see that there are actually many columns. I'll continue to scroll along here. So for that reason, we have the ability for you to change the columns. So the ones that you would like to see are most important up front, and you can customize the columns, selecting which ones you'd like to see. So if you want more detailed rate plan data, you can click the blue link here, which will pop up a separate screen with more detailed information, basic information, eligibility, time of use periods, and charges. So for this particular one, you can see that you can check the different time of use and charge periods if you were doing a project for a client where you wanted to understand any payback period they have. And then you do have several links that are available to you here, including the link to where this sits on the DPS docket, as well as a link to the PDF tariff. Lastly, what I will say about this is the ability to download your results from your search in a spreadsheet format to manipulate in spreadsheet software. Each of the rate plans connects to parameters and other tables through a unique rate plan code, which will ease your search through your spreadsheet software. Okay, with that, I'm going to go through our last tool in MVP, our green button platform that Kyle mentioned. Our green button tool allows or will allow registered ESCs to digitally request authorization and receive access to utility customer data from all New York investor-owned IOUs. As Kyle mentioned, this tool is currently in sandbox mode. And for those of you who don't know what sandbox is, it's basically the ability to explore the functionality, but with mock data sets that do not include actual customer, utility customer data. It's a little bit of a technical term, so I just wanted to make sure everyone understood. Okay, so for Green Button Connect, I'm actually going to walk you through the persona of a third-party provider like an ESC or some other third party that would like to request data from a utility customer. Efficiently sharing energy usage data with specific companies like an energy efficiency contract or a solar energy developer can help consumers save money and reduce greenhouse emissions. New York State utility customers will be able to authorize sharing of their own data with registered third parties with a few simple clicks when we get this to full rollout. Okay, so as a third party, I first have to register. And so you'd click the register button here. I have gone ahead and filled out a little bit of the registration information in advance of today's presentation. Yes, that is my email. Please don't email me directly. So you have to provide some basic information. And then items such as scope of use disclosure, directory listing can be edited now and then edited later. I will say, because it's in sandbox mode, you will not be listed on the actual directory because we're in sandbox. You will have to agree to terms and conditions. So provided you go through the registration process, the team approves your registration, you will then be directed to what is a dashboard page for you as a user. And for the dashboard page, you'll see you have the ability to do several things: request data and see your past requests and what you have been passed off. So I'm going to go ahead and click this button to do request data. And when I do that, you will see that this page pops up to request data. At this point, what I want to say, there are two ways to share customer data, what I like to call a push and a pull. In a push, the third-party provider sends a data request to a known customer. And so that's the process I'm going to show us today as I put in this information. In the pull, the customers can find the third-party provider in the directory that I mentioned before and share directly the data through that way. I will not be going through that process today. I'm only going to focus on the push data request. I'd also like to point out that through some other means, including regular outreach that the third-party company engages, that you will have to have identified a customer who expressed interest in sharing their data. The IEDR platform will not have the customer's name or contact information. That must be achieved through an outside means of the platform. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and fill out this form, and it's going to go to Jabba the Hutt. I was able to see him at the cantina the other day. Okay, so I've gotten his name and I've put his information in, and I can preview what the data request would look like. There you go. And I'm able to send this from my email platform. Click in Send Data Request. Again, we're in sandbox mode, so not actually sending it, but this is what it would be, and you'd have the ability to look at the preview right here. Okay. So after I send the request to Jabba the Hutt, he will be able then to go in and approve my request, and he can approve what type of service he would like to share, and how long he would like to share it, and if he would like to show billing and interval. Okay, so then let's move back to my dashboard where I can see all of the requests I put in. As you can see, I've been chasing Jabba the Hutt at least for a day or so to get his information. I've also been chasing Hans and more of the Hutt family there. So you can see all of the requests that you've been able to put in. And if needed, you can hit resend or you can edit it before you. And then let's take a moment to sort of look at what has been authorized. You see I can go into the authorized section here, and you can see that I've gotten 2 authorizations so far from previous customers that I've requested to share their data with. And I can download their data, their bills, their interval data from this link right here. Okay. That is what we have is walking through our 3 portals. And I think I am going to take us through a polling question right now. Okay, Fiona, I think you can start the poll and I'll read the question. Yes, okay. So following the demo, are there specific tools you believe will directly apply to your line of work? You can select more than one answer here, and I'll give you guys about a minute, sorry, to answer this poll. Okay, I think, Fiona, if you've got responses on that, we can pull that poll down. Okay, and then I think we'll move on to a demonstration of the feedback portal. And thank you, Fiona. Okay, I will reshare again. Okay, you guys are probably very familiar with the homepage now because I know I've started it with each time. But all the way to the left here, you'll see our Connect with Us and our Submit Our New Idea. So as Coral mentioned in the beginning, our Ideas portal is created as a way for users to provide feedback on IEDR, the tool, not the program. we then use this feedback as a program team, the development team, and ISERTA as the program sponsor, to improve upon features and or create new features. So navigate into the Submit a New Idea button here. You'll be entered into the Ideas portal. And so you can select a new idea. You can submit a new idea by hitting this blue button here. Just the point here, you can either choose to remain anonymous and submit your idea, or you can log in or sign up and have your name displayed alongside your idea. Totally your choice based on your comfort level. If you click Add New Idea here, a submission form will pop up. And there are 4 parts to the submission form. You have to include a 1-sentence summary of your idea. And you can see as I'm typing in here that the tool will then automatically bring up similar ideas based on the keyword that I have inserted. And so you can investigate these to see if it is the idea that you are going to submit, and then or if it needs to be a brand new idea. And I'll go through, if you find one that's similar to your own, how you can vote for it. Additionally, you have to provide a little bit more detail than just 1 sentence. Sorry for that. We do need more. We'd like to know who you think your idea would benefit, what problem is trying to be solved if your idea, what impact you think it would make, and how you think it should work. We'd also ask you to tag your idea to a category, either being the info pages or one of the tools specifically. And then we are asking for your email information here. This is for purposes so our development team can reach out to you, not for the purposes of displaying name, like I mentioned. Okay, so heading back to the ideas portal here, you can explore all ideas, as you know, scrolling down, going through all of the pages, but you can also filter and see ideas just specific to a particular tool. And then if you want to expand on an idea, of course, you can just click it here. You'll see the information that was submitted by a previous user, and then you can vote if you think this idea is good. Voting gives us the ability to see popularity of ideas. So we strongly encourage you to look at previous ideas and vote on them, and so that way you don't have to maybe input a duplicate idea. So the last thing I want to show you that's also available on our ideas portal is, lost my screens there, is upcoming features. So if you click upcoming features, you'll be able to see a detailed roadmap. If you scroll along the roadmap, you'll be able to see the improvements and features designated for IEDR. You just scroll along the bottom here. Okay, and the features will be hyperlinked and include a pop-up so you can find information. Okay, with that, I think I have gone through both the demos, and I am handing it back off to Kyle to talk about what we're doing in phase 2.
Thanks, Shreen. Appreciate that. So now that we are transitioning into phase 2 and thinking about the future of the platform, wanted to give at least a high-level overview of what that direction looks like. So phase 2 will span across 30 to 36 months and focus on expanding upon phase 1 successes, the foundations that we've built in the existing platform as part of the MVP, as well as transitioning to accelerating climate action via more advanced IEDR capabilities as the program grows and new data sets are added to the platform. We anticipate prioritizing the acquisition, transfer, and accessibility of data identified by program stakeholders as high priority across the remainder of IEDR use cases. And the team will also be prioritizing the availability of standardized quality data, as well as data privacy and security for non-public information. Over the next year, our key priority will be continuing to grow phase one momentum by building on existing successes and providing expansive and powerful solutions to a wider audience. So really expanding existing modules, adding new data sets, and again, building on the foundation that was created in phase one. Moving into subsequent years, again, we'll be focusing on creating more advanced solutions with additional interesting combinations of data as we further develop a more sophisticated platform that continues to grow alongside of stakeholder submitted use cases. We're excited to move forward with phase two. Again, hopefully you can see with the 3 modules that currently exist, there is a solid foundation for continuing to grow the functionality that is available on the platform. So what might that functionality look like? If we move to the next slide, please. So for those of you who are familiar with the IEDR Phase 2 proposal, it incorporated a list of draft use cases that were submitted by stakeholders and identified as high priority, as well as likely feasible for completion inside of the IEDR scope. So now that we are in Phase 2, we need to continue to work with stakeholders to further refine the value and feasibility of those use cases, as well as the core design that users are looking for from those draft use cases. We'll be initiating additional stakeholder engagement over the next several months, including one-on-one interviews and small working group sessions to further refine problem statements that the industry is experiencing, as well as ultimately build toward what will be the most useful for end users. So in the list provided here, anything that is indicated with a green dot, we anticipate starting that discovery process before the end of June of 2024. The discovery phase for each of these use cases will inform when and how long it will take for the development team to produce each of these use cases. Again, we want to make sure that ultimately what we are building is what is going to be the most usable, the most practical, and the highest value to our end users. So we do think it is critical to take this additional time to make sure that we are designing with end users at the beginning of the process. Use cases that are marked with yellow dots are still under consideration and will be included in future discovery activities later in Phase 2. As we noted during the demo of the IEDR portal, new use cases and feature ideas are absolutely welcome as we move through Phase 2, and those will be prioritized based on value and feasibility alongside of the use cases already identified here. So if we move to the next slide, I will pass to Leah to talk a little bit more about our support structure for use case discovery.
Thanks, Kyle. Hello, everyone. My name is Leah Springstead. I'm a project manager for NYSERDA. And one of the program activities that I've been closely involved in is our program stakeholder engagement efforts, including key activities with the program's advisory group. The advisory group plays a critical role in supporting use case discovery and development by providing valuable feedback to the program at multiple points during the use case development lifecycle. And to briefly reinforce the definition of the terminology we've used here, use case discovery is the process of defining use case requirements and scoping the practicalities of development. And use case development is the actual construction, user testing, and release of use case functionality within the platform. As Kyle mentioned at the top of the call, our advisory group membership is composed of subject matter experts from various entities and organizations, such as utilities, industry associations, government agencies, and more. And it's important to note that engagement outcomes with the advisory group include both broad programmatic and targeted use case feedback. And to create the space and structure to facilitate either conversation type, we've bifurcated the advisory group into two participation tiers, Tier 1 and Tier 2. Tier 1 meets quarterly and is focused on broad program happenings and obtaining directional feedback, and Tier 2 meets according to the use case development schedule and focuses on obtaining feedback from subject matter experts on specific use cases. Our engagement with the advisory group also supports the broad user experience, that is, users that may have an interest in multiple use cases for a variety of reasons, and to allow the program team to broadly socialize program updates within the essential networks. In the coming months, the advisory group will provide feedback on the use cases shown on the previous slide. Specifically, we will be engaging with the user segments shown on this slide, such as government, agencies, building managers, DER, developers, aggregators, owners, and operators, energy service companies, energy service entities, trade associations, utility customers, utilities themselves, and independent system operators. As phase 2 progresses, we will continue to engage with users to help us define use case requirements, test the viability of our product, and receive continuous feedback on user needs, with the goal of empowering our user community to deliver clean energy solutions to New York State. And to button this slide up, I'd just like to close by saying that the IEDR program team puts a tremendous amount of effort into building, operating, and maintaining the IEDR advisory group, and the results of which are a mechanized, stakeholder-driven feedback that informs the development of the IEDR. So with that, I'll hand it back to Coral.
Thank you, Leah. Appreciate it. I think we can move to the next slide. Okay, so we've entered our Q&A segment of our event today. Please, I know some questions have been coming up, but please continue to utilize the Q&A functionality at the bottom of your Zoom window so we can answer your questions. Kyle, I believe I'm going to start asking you some questions, if that works.
Absolutely.
Sure. So first one here is, how will the IEDR program team continue to engage and communicate with the general public throughout phase 2?
Right. So we do anticipate having additional general stakeholder engagement meetings like this. We also have information available on the NYSERDA dashboard. There are quarterly updates that are filed in the respective docket on DMM. So we do anticipate trying to regularly communicate program updates to targeted groups as well as the general public as we move through phase 2 to create transparency and trust in the program.
Great. Thank you. Next one here is, how can the general public become more involved with IEDR development?
Yep. So highly encourage everyone again to utilize the IEDR Ideas portal. We also, I believe, hopefully should be including in the slides a link to sign up for our email. So whenever there is a general stakeholder event or another major piece of information inside of the program, we will be sharing that to our stakeholder list. So please do sign up if you would like updates.
Great. Let me see here. So if we submitted an idea for the original use cases, I think back in 2021 already, should we resubmit it through the ideas portal?
So first off, if you submitted an original use case, thank you. It is greatly appreciated. I would say if your needs or your ideas have fundamentally changed since your original submission, we would absolutely love an update. And the Ideas portal is a great place to provide that to us. Otherwise, we do still have the original use case submissions documented, and we are tracking those along with submissions that are coming in through the Ideas portal. So it's not mandatory unless you do feel that it is fundamentally, your needs have fundamentally changed.
Thank you. What about making data on power outages at the building customer level available?
Yeah, so I think we are definitely exploring the value of grid performance data. It is something that was a part of some of the original use case ideas that came in as part of phase 1. If you feel strongly about that use case, we would absolutely love more information about how you see that information being valuable. And would absolutely encourage you to utilize the Ideas portal to submit that information. We would greatly appreciate that.
Thank you. Okay, how current is the data on the IEDR platform?
So that's a great question. It does depend on the data set and the use case. However, we do have a list of that information available on the IEDR. So within the user guides and documentation, we have tried to provide a comprehensive list of how frequently the information is provided. I will say for the use cases that are made available right now, the IEDR is not we are not the generator of that information. We are reliant on other sources to provide that information to the IEDR. So we are beholden to their update cadences, just as a caveat for folks that are interested.
Great. Scrolling through my questions here. Are there any other ones we'd like to answer?
So,
how do you, if you wanted to become part of the advisory group, how would you do so?
So if you would like to become a part of the advisory group, or you have a recommendation for another organization that you think it would be valuable for us to be talking to, would highly encourage you to reach out to the IEDR inbox that the IEDR team can take a look and evaluate that. I will note that all participation, as particularly in tier 1 of our advisory group, does need approval from our steering committee based on the IEDR's charter. So please do submit those recommendations. I think, again, towards the end and in the slides that will be circulated, we'll flash that email address up for you if you would like to do that.
And I think a lot of these other questions are very specific around timelines and use cases. So we're capturing them all and we'll follow up in a Q&A document. Is there anything else you would like to cover, Kyle?
No, do see some questions about the Green Button platform and the anticipated rollout there. Do want to let everyone know, since there is a lot of interest, that the team is actively working on that use case. We will be able to provide some additional information about the timeline in future updates, but we are preparing for a 2024 launch window. I think I see a couple of questions about specifics. For right now, I will point folks to the Green Button Connect standard, which we will be following in the rollout of the IEDR's Green Button functionality. but we will follow up in that Q&A publication after this to hopefully address the specifics of your questions. So appreciate your patience there. Just don't think we'll have enough time to comprehensively cover that on the call today.
Thank you, Kyle. We did get one more question that I think we can answer. So just, can you re-highlight, I think Leah addressed this, but to re-highlight the difference between Tier 1 and Tier 2 for AG?
Absolutely. So our Tier 1 body is focused on broader directional feedback regarding use cases and prioritization. It's a more consistent body that meets quarterly, whereas Tier 2 of the advisory group meets on an ad hoc basis, is focused on smaller group sessions, seeking very targeted feedback about features and the specific data needs of end users. So it's really, Tier 2 is our way to have a more robust conversation around data needs, and also to hear from a wider group of individuals as we are focusing on designing individual use cases. So hopefully that helps to clarify.
Thank you so much, Kyle. Really appreciate it. Okay, I think we can move to the next slide if there's nothing else to close this out here with some next steps and engagement forums. So thank you all so much for joining. We really appreciate your time, your engagement with our program. We'd like to highlight here some recommended next steps. If you're interested, please go to our platform. Again, these slides and recording will be sent out after our meeting. So please go visit the website, explore our tools, features, and functionalities. We're also going to be having some very cool video tutorials coming out that will be uploaded to the IEDR YouTube playlist in the coming weeks. We currently have an intro to IEDR video that's been released recently, so go check it out. If you need any support or you need to report bugs or data gaps, please contact the email here for IEDR Support at esource.com. That's our development team. And then if you'd like to provide any feedback on ways to improve existing features or recommend new feature ideas, as Kyle discussed a little bit earlier, please navigate to our ideas portal. Shireen did an awesome demo of this earlier in the call. So we'd love to hear from you. And then we really would like to ask if, you're willing, please share the platform with your networks and highlight that this is an early version. We have a lot of things coming in the pipeline, which is very exciting. We really encourage you to submit any feedback through the avenues outlined above. But talk about us. We're excited. This is for you, right? This is for New York State. And then if you'd like to receive any information about these types of events or program updates moving forward, please join our mailing list via the NYSERDA website or this link here on the slide. And then we also have some additional resources via YouTube and other social media at the bottom here with links. And again, thank you so much. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend. We really appreciate you being here and engaging with us. Anything else, Kyle, you'd like to close out with?
No, just want to say, again, thank you so much for your time, your interest, your engagement. We want to wrap a few minutes early just to help everyone in their continuous transitions to their next meetings. Do appreciate everyone's patience if we were not able to address your question on the call. Again, we will be following up with a Q&A document to address all of these questions comprehensively. So thank you again, and hopefully we'll be talking to you soon. Thank you so much.
Thanks all. Take care.